Alright, I finally got my XAMPP downloaded and configured properly on my computer so that I could start practicing PHP coding. And I'm taking this from one of Adam Corey's tutorials from the internet. Right here, right on the web page, because you can see it's got file and the address / times 3, the C drive, XAMPP, htdocs, the one contact form web application Ajax HTML5 PHP folder, and example.html is this right here. It's this file, and this is what it looks like just plain out open in the browser. So we're not using the server right now, we're not using XAMPP, it's straight through the browser. So if I'm trying to type in here, if I just put in some dummy values, a name, an email address, and this is a message without PHP and the server. Submit form, because again we're not going through the server, we're just going straight through the browser. So it's trying to do its thing. We got please wait, but pretty soon I'm going to get an error message. Pretty soon, or maybe not pretty soon. Wow, this is ridiculous. Let's try it again. Blah, blah, at blah.com, blah, submit form. Well, needless to say, it's not working right. Okay, when I did this in Firefox, I actually got some of the PHP code spit out down here underneath this button. So it wasn't working right. Okay, so let me close this. So we don't want to open this example.html straight into a browser. What we want to do is we want to go through localhost. So if I take this off, this is what I would do in a new tab. I would type in localhost. And then these I've already used, so instead of typing this all over again, I'm just going to grab that. Localhost 1 contact form web application Ajax HTML5 PHP / example.html. And you could see the icon here for XAMPP. So now, let me do the same thing I was trying to do when it was just opened up straight through to the browser. Lisa at balloons.com, little fake something, and just all day long crazy little message of nothing. Now we hit submit form. Please wait. Thanks, Lisa, your message has been sent. Alright, so the example.html has this doc type, HTML, head, meta char set equals UTF-8, title, website contact form, which is really getting on my nerves. And in the script, there's a couple of functions that Adam made. This function _ID, what that does is it returns document.getElementById, and then whatever the ID of the element is that you're referring to. Instead of having to type this over and over and over again every time you need to use it, all you have to do is type an underscore. So as you see that this green one is highlighted, everywhere down here that it's highlighted, you just saved yourself from having to type this over and over again. So there's one function. And then you've got a function submit form, and that goes from this red curly brace all the way down to this one. So here's another function. So that's the only thing in the script in the head, two functions. So let's go over the function submit form. Underscore parentheses and double quotes, my button. So we have a button that has the ID of my button, and we're going to access it by using document get element by ID, but instead of having to type all that, we're just using the underscore because that's what our function allows us to do. My button dot disabled equals true, and then underscore again. Now we're also going to use an element on our page that has an ID of status, and we're going to set the incoming email. You have a new email. Would you like to view it? Not right now. All right. Where the heck was I? Oh. The inner HTML says please wait. Then we create a variable called form data, and it's set equal to new form data, but this is the variable right here. Then we're using that variable form data.append, and we've got this n in double quotes, comma, underscore, n in double quotes and parentheses dot value. So this says form data.append n, comma, n value. Another one, form data.append e in double quotes, comma, underscore e dot value. Form data.append m in double quotes, comma, underscore m dot value. And now we're going to do something with Ajax. For Ajax equals new XML HTTP request, ajax.open post, comma, example underscore parser.php. And I'm going to go over this code for example underscore parser.php in a minute when I finish this HTML web page. The next line right here, not line 19, ajax.onReadyStateChange equals function. And this function goes from this red curly brace to this one. So all of that. If ajax.readystate equals 4 is equal to 4 and ajax.status is equal to 200, the next question that it asks, the next condition, if ajax.responseText is equal to success, then if both of those pass, underscore my form.innerHTML equals, and here we are going to set this, thanks Lisa, your message has been sent. And you can see in single quotes you have the h2 tags, which is a header, header2, header size 2, thanks, plus n.value. Well, when I typed in the first name field, I typed in Lisa, so that's why you see that. It's the n.value. Plus your message has been sent. So that little chunk right there gives us this whole output, as long as these things are both true. If they're not true, then you have this else, where you have underscore status.innerHTML equals ajax.responseText, and underscore my button.disabled equals false. And then after that, all of this, we have this ajax.send form data, and then that completes this whole function that's submit form. End of script, end of head. Now let's look at the little body we got going on here. Body has a form, and if I hit refresh here, it's this form that you see right here initially. So form ID equals my underscore form on submit equals submit form, so it's calling that function, return false. Then we have a paragraph. Inside of a paragraph we have an input element, input with the ID of n for name, placeholder equals name. That's why you see the word name inside of that text box. And then required means that if you don't fill it in, you hit submit form, you're going to get this please fill out this field. So then if we fill it out and then hit submit form, then it gives you an error message for the email address, because the email address, you see all three of these required attributes are green for each one of these elements. So we can say bob@barker.com. Okay, and then we hit submit form, and we didn't do anything in the message because that's also required, so that's please fill out this field shows again. So the price is right. I'm not going to hit submit form again yet. So in that paragraph, we have that input with the ID of n, placeholder equals name required, end p. Here's another set of paragraph tags, and inside there's an input. Input ID equals e for email, placeholder equals email address, which is why before I typed in here, it said email address. Type equals email, and also that was also listed as required. There's in that paragraph. Then we have a text area. That's this larger square right here with the ID of M for message, and the placeholder said before I typed in it, write your message here. Rows equals 10, and it was required. And so there's the text area. And then finally there is another paragraph element with an input with an ID of my BTN for my button. Type equals submit, because this is a submit button. Value equals submit form. That's how you see on the button, the face of the button, you see the words submit and form. And then there's a span, ID equals status, which we'll use in code. And there's the end of that paragraph. So these are these 1, 2, 3, 4 different things in the form. 1, 2, 3, 4 different things in the form. There's the end of the form, end of the body, end of the HTML. Alright, so I can get rid of this example.html, and let's look at the PHP code that he created called example_parser.php. So this is the opening and this is the closing PHP tags. PHP, they're in red here. There's an if condition that goes from there to there. It says if is set, and then you have in parentheses here $_post, and then in square brackets and single quotes n, and is set $_post e, and is set $_post m. Okay, so if all of these, if all of that is true, then everything in these curly braces, the red curly braces from here to the end, will execute. And then he had a note here, hint, use preg replace to filter the data. I didn't do anything about filtering the data yet. I'm still trying to just understand this particular code that I'm working with right now. And so here we have $n equals, I don't think I need to say $each sign, you see it. N equals post, and then N in the brackets. E equals post, and then E in the brackets. M equals NL2BR, and I think he said that that changes new lines to break tags. That's opposed to whatever you have in here. So I'm going to go down a couple spaces. The price is right, the price is wrong. The price is okay. Now you see I skipped a space in between each of those lines. So if I'm not mistaken, when he explained his video, that is what that NL2BR does. It maintains your line breaks when this submits to the email, which should go to the My Way account when I hit submit form. Then we've got this 2 equals, and I put Lisa2020 at myway.com because I want my results to show up here in my MyWay account. And from equals, and then you got this $E that has to do with the email that I type in here, which here I typed bob@barker.com. And then subject equals PHP message. So here you can see in the subject of the MyWay account PHP message. If I were to change that to PHP is sending this message, whoops, and save it, then when I hit the submit button and I look back here at the MyWay account again, my subject should say this next time. And then the message, which is all of this stuff, oh, I take that back. The message here gives us the text name plus whatever name I type in, which up here I typed in Bob. then a break tag to go down a line, and then the word email that's bold with the email that I put in here, which is bob@barker.com, and then in paragraph tags so that it has a little bit of spacing, the $M for message, whatever message, that's what all of this is. The price is right, the price is wrong, the price is okay. And then we have this thing about headers. Headers equals from, and then $from, \n. Another thing with headers, and here's a dot equals, and I don't know how to explain that, but that was in his final code. I don't think that dot equals was in the video, but since I got this to work, and I don't really want to take this out, because if it's going to stop it from working, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Equals MIME version 1.0 \n. Another headers, dot equals content type text / HTML, semicolon, and then you have another char set equals ISO -8859-1 \n. Okay, so we created a bunch of things. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with PHP, but PHP creates variables, and they use a lot of $signs. That's just part of the syntax of PHP. So down here we have an if condition, and the condition that it wants to find true, male, and inside of the parentheses here you've got the $2, comma, the $subject, the comma, the $message, comma, the $headers. So if all of those have been set, if all that's true, then echo will be success. If none of this is true, I guess if the subject, the message, or the headers, the subject, the message, or the headers, I guess if any of that was messed up, then you'd have this message: the server failed to send the message, please try again later. Which maybe I'll try to mess something up by misspelling something, or I'll see if I can mess that up so that I can force that error message to happen. But right now I'm not trying to force an error, I'm trying to force it to work correctly. Okay, so I showed you the PHP, I showed you the HTML that had this, I showed you the PHP that's going to actually allow us to shoot this stuff over to my MyWay account. So let me hit submit form, and hopefully I didn't mess anything up. And again, there, thanks Bob, your message has been sent. Okay, so let's go back here and let me might have to sign back in to the MyWay because it's been sitting here for a minute. And it's still doing something. Hopefully I have 2 messages now. Wow. Oh, come on already. Oh, come on. Long videos are horrible and I can't help it. There, I've got 2 messages. So let's get this junk out of the way. And see in the subject, PHP is sending this message. That's what I just created. If I open it up and pull this up, name Bob, email bob@barker.com, the price is right, the price is wrong, the price is okay. Alright, so all of that showed up, and you see from is my Gmail account. Subject, PHP is sending this message, which right here is the subject. If I change that subject and send it again, then here would give us a different. The 2, this is the MyWay account that I sent it to. The date, the from part, you don't see this Gmail account in here anywhere because I had to put that in my sendmail.ini or in my php.ini, and both of these files are what ships with your XAMPP when you download your XAMPP, so that you could utilize PHP, so that you can create this imaginary server and test your PHP code. That's what I'll go over these two next, since I've finished with the example parser .php. I will close this, and like I said, those first two files that I went over were from Atom Quarry's tutorial, but you have to, when you download XAMPP so that you can test PHP, you have to make changes to these two files, php.ini and sendmail.ini, and it's two different ways. There's some things that if I comment it out in one file, as long as it's in another file, it'll work. So it's kind of like putting the same thing, your from and to, in both of these files. Let's see. And this one I did even earlier. This is the first one I did, Lisa at Balloons, and I just did all this blah blah blah. Alright, I got this pop-up. I don't want this pop-up. Okay, let me refresh this. And all of this is working. I'm setting my SMTP to Gmail. So in my php.ini, once you look at this, is line 1023. So when you first open your php.ini, which you can find, let me show you how to find it. It's not in the XAMPP control, but if you go to computer, go to computer, and then you have to go to your C drive. Wow. This is very frustrating, having to wait so long. Okay, go to your C drive, double click your C drive. And go to XAMPP. I've seen online some people call it XAMPP. I'm calling it XAMPP because it looks like XAMPP to me. Alright. htdocs is where whatever practice you're learning, whatever web page design with PHP scripting, it's going to go in the XAMPP htdocs folder. That's where you're going to run it from. That's how, when we go to localhost here, when I hit localhost and then I hit one contact form web application Ajax HTML5 PHP, you see that folder in here in the htdocs folder. And then further on you see the file called example.html is inside that one contact form web applications blah blah blah. Right here, this example.html, that simulated server grabbed it, and this is how I'm able to test my PHP. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Let me go back to XAMPP. Alright, so the htdocs is where your web pages and your PHP files go in order to process it through localhost. But you have PHP folder right here. Inside that PHP folder, you have PHP.ini. I guess that's for the initialization file. PHP.ini, if you right click on that and hit edit with Notepad++, that's what I'm looking at right here. And then you have to find mail function. Well, like I said, this is a rather large file. If I go all the way to the bottom, you've got 1,928 lines of code. So when you first open it up and you want to go straight to the mail file, you can go up here in your Notepad++ and hit search, find, and let's just say mail, the word mail, find text, and it goes straight. Oh, here, this is just looking for mail, but you could, I guess, put mail function. Let me see if that would work. If I just put mail function, find next. Yeah, mail function, and it highlights and takes you straight to it. Then you've got a bunch of stuff that is commented out, and one of the reasons that this was so confusing to me is because I didn't know what needed to stay commented out, and I didn't know what needed to be uncommented, and I didn't know what needed to be reconfigured. So I had to do a lot of digging, a lot of looking through the internet, watching some videos. I think some videos might have steered me wrong, so I was highly frustrated, but this is the way I've got it configured to work for me. It might help you. It, it surely will help me if anything happens to my configuration. I could watch this video and I'll be able to fix anything that got messed up here. So let me get out of this. So the php.ini file, which is a part of XAMPP, which is helping us to create this pretend server so that we can practice PHP, you go to your mail function, and I have these things not highlighted. These things in black are important. Everything else that's highlighted is either notes or an original configuration, like this SMTP port equals 25. That did not work for me. So this was the original setting, which I had to keep commented out in green because this is what I needed. These are the ones that worked for me. So I have SMTP equals smtp.gmail.com. So for starters, this right here is going to allow me to access my Gmail account in order to shoot these messages out. This message that I put in here and I had submit form, it's somehow accessing the Gmail in order to send it. So when I went to my MyWay, it shows that my message came from my Gmail account. Okay. And I had to use this SMTP underscore port equals 465. These are two things that sendmail underscore from, and the from being the Gmail account, and sendmail underscore to equal being the recipient account. These were things that I was using and taking a configuration off of something else and putting it here, and that enabled it to work too. But for right now, I don't need it, but I can use it. It's another way to do it. But the black here does have to be open, not commented out, and it's sendmail underscore path equals, and you got double quote backslash double quote C colon backslash XAMPP backslash sendmail backslash sendmail.exe backslash double quote, and then you've got a dash T and another double quote. I found this in a few different places online, a few different videos and a few different websites. So this is obviously working for me. So if anything happens and I need to reconfigure it, I have it in this video. All this other stuff is greened out, commented out, so didn't really need anything. My most important thing for my php.ini was that this was set to my gmail.com and this port was set to 465 and this path was set to that. Now let's check out the sendmail.ini. Same thing with this. This isn't quite as long, but this has got 95 lines. So when you first open it, sendmail is very close. It's only on line 6, so you don't have to use your search. You can if you want to. You can look up sendmail if this was a huge file and hit find next. Find next, and everywhere it highlights sendmail. But it's not really necessary. What was important for my sendmail.ini file was this. smtp underscore server equals smtp.gmail.com. The original code was smtp underscore server equals mail at mydomain.com. That's just basically a dummy name for you to fill in. And since I'm going to utilize Gmail, basically smtp.gmail.com replaced mail.mydomain.com. So this is important to have black. smtp underscore port equals 465 so that it matches my, basically these things right here that talk about my Gmail and the port number that's in my php.ini also needs to be in the sendmail.ini. Go down further. I have SMTP underscore SSL set to auto, and this is what auto means. When you set it to auto, it's going to use the secure socket layer for port 465. Otherwise, it's going to try to use the TLS, which I don't know what that stands for, but I'm sure it's another type of security. Or if you were to set it to just SSL, it would always use that. Or if you were to set it to TLS, it would always use that. Or if you were to set it to none, you're supposed to never try to use the SSL secure socket layer. So auto worked for me. That's what I'm going to keep it as if I need to refer to this video again. And let's see. We have error underscore log file equals error.log. That seemed to be needed. Then we have this debug underscore log file equals debug.log. And right here, this is my Gmail username and password, which obviously now that I've made this a video, I'm going to change my password. But you have to put in your Gmail name and password in order for this to work, because you're utilizing your Gmail to make this to work. Now here, in line 84 and line 90, this was another thing that I seen online, that if you're having problems making this work, force underscore sender. This forces the sender, and then this was my Gmail account to be the forced sender, and this was the forced recipient. Force underscore recipient equals, and then you put in the email of who you want the recipient to be. What this does is every time you do this, you're going to have only one sender and only one recipient. And so far, this is only working with one sender and one recipient. It's not letting me change, and basically the name and email address and message. This email address, I've been putting junk email addresses. It's not actually giving me a function. This is just giving me something that's going to show up in the email. See, if I go back to my way. See, this is just showing in the body of the email. It's not up here in these headers functioning. It's just down here because, name Lisa, email Lisa at balloons.com. That's all just some made up garbage. So this is just giving me the content of the email. But these, on the other hand, are giving me the functionality. And this again is in sendmail.ini. If you want a force sender and a force recipient, you can use that. Mine's working fine without the force right now. But I have them commented if I need to try them out in the future for whatever reason. Okay, and that's all. That's it. You have to have your auth underscore username, auth underscore password for your Gmail account, and this debug log file, and this error log file, and SMTP SSL auto, your SMTP port. And okay, SMTP port was originally set at 25, but then my XAMPP, this is before I got it working, my XAMPP SSL port was set to 443. When this wasn't working, I thought, well, maybe my SMTP port needs to be 443, and I tried that and that was not successful, but I gave myself this note because I wound up going in my XAMPP down here, and I went to config. Okay, then I went to service and port settings. Then I went to Apache, and you see the SSL port 443. Because this wasn't working, I thought, well, maybe I needed to match up this. But even though you can change this number here, when you first run this and you get this control panel, the port for Apache says 80,443. It doesn't change here on the face of this this interface right here. So because I did actually change this port to these other numbers trying to make it work. So basically that might be something you might try in your frustration if it's not working, and I'm telling you, you don't need to change this. I tried it and it didn't help, so you don't need to change that. Alright, so that was a note to myself. I set it to 587 to see if it needed to match this 587 to work, because actually I read somewhere online that this port needed to be 587. So for whatever reason, for some people 587 works and some people 465 works. Right now 465 is working for me. That's another thing. If you go to Internet Options, all right, this is another thing that I changed. Internet Options. Internet Options. Okay, Internet Options. You're going to have different securities, and I think that might have been part of my problem. If I can get it to come up, I can show you. Okay, in security, where do I? Let's see, what am I looking for? Oh, here in advanced. You go down toward the bottom, under security. You've got use SSL 2.0, use SSL 3.0, use TLS 1.0, use TLS 1.1, use TLS 1.2. And since this is referring to SSL and TLS and it wasn't working for me and I didn't know why, I just made sure all of these were checked so that it would use all these different securities so that whatever I needed to match up with whatever was going on, this was my attempt to fix stuff. So that's another thing you might want to look at if you're trying to brainstorm why this isn't working for you. But through all these things that I was trying and it wasn't working, one thing that finally happened was I got this message from my Gmail saying that it was blocking an attempt from a less secure, what did it call it, an app. I guess it called what I'm trying to do an app. But I think I don't have the error message. Needless to say, it gave me a link that I can, and after I loosened the security through my Gmail account, then this started working again. Now, unfortunately, since I had a link to get to that, I can't show you how to get to it to loosen it yourself, but maybe I can Google it and it'll show how to get to it. Let's see, loosen the Gmail security for less secure apps. I don't even know if that sounds right. Allowing less secure apps to access your account. All right. Yeah. And this might not be this mail type of thing. You have to loosen it, or you have to have a way to check your code to see if you've done it right or not. And this is just taking so long. My God. All right, so go to the less secure apps section in my account. Here was a link, and if you click it, it takes another month. I guess I don't really have to spend all day going through this, but it gives you this. Okay, and if you're already signed into your Google, then it's already applying. It's already going to be applied to your account. Access for less secure apps, turn on. If you turn it off, okay, I've already showed you that my code is working right now. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to refresh my page, and I'm going to attempt to do my localhost mail thing. I'm assuming that this is one of the main reasons I'm working again. Sendmail.ini or php.ini or anything that's really going through this localhost. that what you want to do to be sure, you want to hit quit on your XAMPP, and then you want to restart it again. So that any changes show up. Because there might be a memory in this, and if you don't turn this off and turn it back on, you're not going to see the results of your changes. It's going to like hold on to former configurations. And if you don't know that, you could be making all kind of changes and not see any results and really bash your head up against a brick wall because you can't understand why things aren't changing for you. All right, so this is probably not going to work now that I've done that. Lisa at kites.com. Wonder if this will work. Submit form. Now I'm going to trip if it works because I thought that was one of my solutions. When you do so many different changes trying to fix something, when you do too many of them and you're not really sure which thing actually fixed your problem, it kind of sucks because, oh, see, this is what I was having for 2 days. The server failed to send the message. Please try again later. No matter what I did to my sendmail ini and my PHP ini, no matter what I did to the HTML or PHP files, those 4 different files, I couldn't figure out why the heck this was not working. Security. And so this was attempting to send stuff through my Gmail, but because what I'm doing isn't chock full of security, it was refusing. So let's turn this back on. Let's refresh it again. And for the heck of it, I'm going to see if I can run this without stopping XAMPP and restarting. Just going to see. All right. Lisa at, what else? It's just here.com, nothing exciting. I've loosened my Gmail security again for PHP testing purposes. All right. Hopefully I'll get a success. Thanks, Lisa. Your message has been sent. So let's check my way. Let's refresh. And are we successful? And we're successful. And here's that security alert. This is when I had it set so that it would block. This is basically this security alert is what helps me realize. It's so not fun when this. Okay, access for less secure apps has been turned on. Oh, okay, I guess it's sending me one that I just somebody else did it to your email or your Gmail. But anyway, it was a message similar to that that let me know that my attempts were being blocked. My PHP attempts. Now here, since I loosened it up again by hitting the other radio dial, Lisa at here.com, I've loosened my Gmail security again for PHP testing purposes, and the subject PHP is sending this message. So in this video, longer than I wanted to be, I showed you how to configure sendmail.ini and your php.ini script with this whole mail thing so that you can utilize sending mail through an app that you create. This is much more to learn. Obviously, I need to get into the security end, and if you wanted to have this go to anything other than Gmail, that's a whole other set of configurations that you have to look up yourself. But at least I got this contact form from that tutorial working, and that was going to drive me insane unless I figured out how to get it to work. So now I have to find the next puzzle piece to drive me insane, because I'm not happy unless I have the challenge. Alrighty then, I'm out of this one.